Good evening students. Today let us learn speed and velocity. Last class I have already told you what is the difference between distance and displacement. Speed and velocity, they are related to your distance and displacement. Earlier you know that speed is what? Actually speed is your distance by time. Distance by time means total distance covered divided by the time taken to cover that distance is called your speed. Got? Usually this formula we will call it your average speed. Speed is equal to distance by time. Similarly, velocity is what? Velocity is what? Displacement by time. Displacement by time. If you have understood the concept of distance and displacement, then you might be find a clear difference between speed and velocity. Suppose one object is moving from A to B in this path. In this path. Distance is what? The length of the actual path covered. Got? The displacement means the shortest distance between these 2 points A and B. Got? If you take this length of the path, let's say it is 100 meter. If you take the straight line distance, let's say it is 70 meter. But actually you have chosen this path of your movement. Suppose from A to B you took 10 seconds. So you observe your watch here, the time it is 0 second here. Now when you reach at the point B in this path, you see your watch is reading 10 seconds. Got? Actually this is the path along which you traversed. AB is actually the straight line path, and the length of AB is 70 meter. In this case your average speed is what? Distance by time, distance is 100 divided by time is 10 seconds. So 100 by 10 means 10 meter per second is your speed. But for velocity you need to find out the length of the shortest path. Shortest path is AB, but not the actual path. So this is your speed. Speed is 10 meter per second. Now average velocity is 70 by 10, which is 7 meter per second. From this example it is clear that speed and velocity, they are not the same quantity, they are different. Remember that day already I have told you speed and velocity, they are different in this sense, like speed is a scalar quantity whereas velocity is a vector quantity as it has some direction. Got? Now another point here, this is what you up to your standard 10 you knew it. Now let us introduce a new concept here. You knew what is average speed. So let me explain what is average speed. Suppose an object is moving in a particular straight line road, and that straight line you can take, that road is along the x-axis. You can choose your x-axis like this. Let's say this is your origin and this is your x-axis, and time you are measuring the time. So with time the object is moving along x-axis. Suppose here the position is x1, and at this point the position is x2, and here the value of x is 0 as it is the origin, and let's say the time starts from there, it is 0 there. Where as you are moving along the road, means along x-axis, at this point let's say the time is t1 and the time coordinate here it is t2. Then your average speed is what? Average speed is total distance by total time. The total distance means what? If x2 is the coordinate here and x1 is the coordinate here, means position coordinate. So your speed, your average speed is given by x2 minus x1 by t2 minus t1, means the distance covered is the length of this path divided by the time taken. This is called your average speed. Got? That you can find. If x as a function of time it has been provided, it has been given how the position is changing, then you can find out the average speed by using this formula. Now let us introduce another term, like if someone will ask you, suppose this is a simple example I am taking, suppose you are riding a bicycle or you are riding a motorcycle, there is a speedometer. If someone will ask you, suppose you started at 10 a.m. and for half an hour, means till 10:30 a.m. you are riding your bicycle, your motorcycle along that straight line path. But suppose someone asks you at 10:10 a.m. what is your speed? Means at this instant what is your speed? So in that case the speed at a particular instant is being asked. So that is not same as your average speed. So if the speed is means you need to find out the speed at a particular moment, then that speed is termed as your instantaneous speed. Instantaneous speed. And remember, the formula for instantaneous speed means what? See, speed is actually your change in position divided by the time span. But instantaneous means this time span tends to 0. Means with this thing we can write your average value, you can write it is like del x by del t. The value of instantaneous, we can say this average speed will be equal to instantaneous speed in the case when delta t will be very, very small and it tends to 0. So your instantaneous speed, we can write here speed instantaneous is written as limit del t tends to 0 del x upon del t. When we are dealing with a time difference which is tends to 0, then the del x by del t is called your instantaneous speed, or simply dx by dt. So this is the formula for your instantaneous speed. Clear? So this is your average speed. Average speed means the time span, it is having a very, it means very large gap. A remarkable gap of time if it is there, then the speed is called your average speed. But if the time span is very, very small, means you are asked to find out the speed at a particular instant of time, then that speed is called your instantaneous speed, and the formula is here. So similarly what I have defined for speed, average speed and instantaneous speed, same also applicable for your velocity. Yes. So the same for velocity we can write. For velocity, the symbol used here, it is v bar for average velocity. It means which is x2 minus x1 by t2 minus t1. The only difference is it is a vector quantity and that's a scalar quantity. Clear? V is equal to x2 minus x1 by t2 minus t1, and your v instantaneous, simply it is written v, which is nothing but limit del x del t tends to 0, del t tends to 0, del x upon del t, or which is dx by dt. So it is your instantaneous velocity. Got? The only difference is a vector quantity and that's a scalar quantity. In that example what I have taken, you might have seen the speed is more whereas the velocity is less. For a particular motion, for a particular object's motion between two particular points in a particular path, the speed and velocity, they are different. They may be same. There are some examples, they may be same. But most of the time, remember, the value of the speed is more than that of your velocity. Got? Remember, speed cannot be negative. Speed can never be a negative. Whereas this velocity can be negative, can be positive, and can be zero. Got? See, because this depends on the initial and final position of the object and also the direction. But speed, it depends on the path followed. Yes? So because of that reason, the two things, they are different. We will elaborate it in your chapter where we will see vectors. So this velocity will be dealt in a very specific manner in a vector method, or we will apply that vector equations for your velocity. There we will see in which way it is different from your speed. But for the time being, remember, velocity can be positive, can be negative, and can be zero because it depends on your displacement. One question I have already solved where I have shown you displacement can be positive, can be negative, and can be zero in that case. Because of that reason, your velocity can be positive, negative, and zero. But remember, speed can never be negative. It may be zero if the position of the object is fixed with respect to time. Then if distance is zero, so speed will be zero. But speed can never be negative. Got? So let me solve one question related to this. It will be very clear how to find out the average speed and instantaneous speed. Suppose you have given a function of x with time, means the position of an object changes with time according to this equation. Let's say x is equal to 2t plus t square. Suppose an equation is given, x is equal to 2t plus t square, let's say plus 2. In this manner, the value of x changes. Here t refers to your time, x refers to your position. So in this case, you are asked to find out the question number 1 is find out average speed between t is equal to 2 second to t is equal to 4 second. And the second question is find the speed at t is equal to 4 second. Now see here the time span 2 second to 4 second, because time span is given, means the speed you need to find out is average speed. But find the speed at 4 second means here in this case you need to find out the instantaneous speed. So let us apply the formula for the average speed. To find out the average speed, we can use this formula x2 minus x1 by t2 minus t1. Got? So what is x2? x2 is what? Position at t2. x1 is what? Position at time t1. So it means you put here for time t for t2, then you can get it x2. So here we are given t is equal to 2 second to 4 second. 2 second if you take to be your t1, 2 second, t2 will be your 4 second. So x2, while calculating x2, it means t2 is 4. means t is your 4 means x2 is the value of x when t is equal to 4 second, and x1 is the value of x when t is equal to 2 second. So x2 we can calculate 2 into 4 means t is equal to 4 plus t square means 4 square plus 2. 4 into 2 8 plus 4 into 4 square means 16 plus 2. So it means 8 plus 2 10, 6 plus 16 means 26. Then similarly we can calculate x1. x1 is how much? You take t is equal to 2. T is equal to 2 if you take 2 into 2 plus 2 square plus 2. So 2 into 2 4 plus 2 square 4 plus 2. 4 plus 4 8 plus 2 10. Now I can put it here in this formula. x2 minus x1. x2 is how much? 26 minus x1 is your 10 divided by t2 minus t1. t2 is 4, t1 is your 2, 4 minus 2. 26 minus, and it means what? It is 16 by 2, so which is 8 meter per second. Actually the unit would have been given here, and the question will be like this: x is in meter, t is in second, like that, or some other units might have been given. So accordingly you can take your units here. Got? Now the second part is second question, find the speed at 4 seconds. At 4 seconds means your instantaneous speed. Instantaneous speed. The formula for instantaneous speed is dx by dt. Means derivative of x with respect to time. So which is d by dt of x. X you take here, which is 2t plus t square plus 2. Now find derivative of each quantity separately. D by dt of 2t plus d by dt of t square plus d by dt of 2, which implies speed instantaneous is given by, see, d by dt of 2. 2 is a constant in this derivative, so you can take out of the derivative, so which is d by dt of t plus d by dt of t square. Here the power of t is 2, so it is 2t, 2 minus 1 according to the formula I have just applied here. The formula, let me tell you again: d by dx of x to the power n is n x n minus 1. That formula I have applied. N is 2, t 2 minus 1. Derivative if any constant is 0. Now you can see here dt by upon dt means this term is 1, and this is your 2 plus 2t. So your instantaneous speed is, you got 2t plus 2. Your instantaneous speed, what you got? 2t plus 2. But you are asked to calculate, find the speed at t is equal to 4 seconds. So it means you found dx by dt, the function is 2t plus 2, and at when t is equal to 4 seconds means you put t is equal to 4 here. So means speed instantaneous would be 2 into 4 plus 2. 2 into 4, 8 plus 2, so 10 meter per second. Good? Thank you.